Hello everyone, welcome back to my little cozy corner of the internet. I hope you're all doing incredibly well. I probably should not be filming this outside. It is incredibly smoky out because of the fires in Canada, and being in Minnesota, it comes all straight down to us. But I've had my windows open all night and all morning, so I don't really think it's going to make too much of a difference. But I figured it looks better out here than it usually does in my office, so anyway. Today I just wanted to share with you guys some of the books that I have read over the past few months that I haven't talked about here on YouTube, but I have talked about on Instagram. So if you follow me on Insta, you've probably already heard me talk about every single one of these. This is not going to include the ACOTAR series that I finished earlier this year. I already had long enough videos about all of those, so go watch those if you would like. Loved the series, hated the smut. Anyway, so this video won't be too incredibly long. I'm only going to be covering 5 books. Yeah, 5 books. I'm just going to hop in no particular order, but I'm going to start with a book that's actually quite unpopular. And I just wanted to talk about it because I really enjoyed it, and I think a lot of you would really like it. And that is Sunlight Girl by K.L. Cottrell. This was such a beautiful book, you guys. So this was actually sent to me by my friend Monica. We've been friends on Instagram for a couple years now, and once I started to get in more bookish things, we were able to connect a little bit more. But her friend actually authored this book, and it is only like $5 on Amazon. So you should get it. But I just want to start by saying that this is not a lighthearted cutesy book. It is kind of a romance book, but it is very full of trauma and sadness and intensity. I don't really know how else to say it. There's trauma, loss, grief, abuse, family issues, infidelity. Like, there's pretty much everything in here, but it is so good. So this follows our main character Spencer, and the book is written in his perspective, and he tragically just lost his girlfriend to suicide. So yes, trigger warning, suicide is like literally right away, first chapter, you're talking about it. So he loses his girlfriend to suicide, and so he and his family move to a different state. I want to say it's like Arkansas or something. It was something totally random. They're just going there to start over, to have a new start, and in this new high school that Spencer is going to, the kids are like super mega jerks. They're all very like spoiled rich kids. Like, I don't want to say that, but I'm gonna say it. So he's not really clicking very well in the school because he's angry, you know, he just lost his girlfriend. He swears a lot, which was kind of a turnoff for me at first because I started this book and then I put it down for a while to finish the ACOTAR series because I was so turned off by that. So just so you know, if you're not a fan, it's in here a lot. There's one girl that he meets, and her name is Emerson, and she's very different. She's very sweet and shy, but also like encouraging and loving and cute and adorable, and she's just different. And long story short, they connect, and it turns out that she also has a really tragic backstory that has all kinds of twists and turns in like the last half of this book. So know that this book has a very slow start. Like the first 100 pages I was kind of like, okay. But then like the last half of this book, I was so in love with these characters, you guys. Oh gosh, it's so good. It's just a story of so much character development and love and grief in dealing with trauma and not feeling alone, and it's just so beautiful. I loved this book so much. As you can see, I did have quite a few tabbies in here because there were just so many good one-liners. I actually didn't realize how many I had until right now. I will say, as far as like spiciness, there's only one really tiny part that is like semi-spice. It's not like a full-on like sex scene, which I appreciate. It was just a little, you know, teenage stuff. I don't want to say teenage stuff because teenagers shouldn't be doing that either, in my opinion, but still, you know what I mean. It was really easy to get over and get through, so I appreciated that. I will say I gave it a 4.5 out of 5, and I'll explain why. Number one is because, obviously, excessive amount of swearing, but Emerson, she's very much written as like not like other girls, and it kind of annoyed me at first because a lot of her responses were so unrealistic. Like, she was so different that it was like not normal. A lot of it is just like, okay, that doesn't happen. You know what I mean? Like, she was just so sweet and so nice. Like, Spencer would like cuss at her and she'd be like, oh, it's okay, I understand that you feel this way, you know? Like, it's just kind of like, that's not how like a lot of people are. But then also on the flip side, the other reason why I gave it a little bit of a lower rating was because the bullies in this school were also so incredibly unrealistically horrible. Like, some of the things that these girls were saying to Emerson and Spencer, I'm like, nobody says that. What kind of schools are you people going to where teenage girls are like that? Like that, like some of the things I was just like, huh? Those were the only two reasons, three reasons? I don't remember how many I said, that I kind of dropped the rating a little bit because I was like, nah, no. But overall, it's just so good, especially the last like 150 pages. I was like flipping through it. It just got so good because you kind of find out the real backstory of Emerson, and it was just, again, it was a little over the top, definitely, but at the same time it was still so beautiful. And by the end of the book, I was just so incredibly happy for Spencer and Emerson. I like wish that they were real people because I'm just like, I'm so happy for you. All that to say, this book is wonderful. I loved it so much. It was beautiful and cute and just covered so many great topics with grace, and I just I loved it. The next one was my most recent finished read, and that is Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. And I've actually been wanting to read this for a while because it is everywhere on Bookstagram and Booktube, and it's just like people can't shut up about it. So I was like, all right, let's see what this is all about. And this is very difficult to explain because I was like, oh, I should give a synopsis, and then I'm like, how do I even explain this book? It's very like Alice in Wonderland vibes, where it's very different and odd and unique. I was picturing very much so like Alice in Wonderland kind of style and mixed with steampunk vibes. I don't know if that's how it's supposed to be, but it's definitely what I was imagining. But it has a very unique magic system. So there's Evangeline, who's the main character, super cute. She's in love with this guy, Luke, who kind of low-key sucks. And through a twist of events, her love, Luke, ends up marrying, or almost marrying I should say, her stepsister. To reverse that, she seeks out a fate, which is kind of like a god almost, I guess you could say. And the fate that she goes to is Jax. But yeah, so she makes a deal with Jax, this fate, and of course things don't go as she anticipated. Like, you know, when you make a deal with Rumpelstiltskin, like you get the deal, but then like the price you pay is not what you expected, or like things turn out not as you expected, but also not wrong, you know? Anyway, that's really all I can explain accurately, because the rest of it, if I explained it, it would be spoilers, but also probably really confuse you. So the whole book is basically her making deals with Jax and going through these steps of trying to reverse a curse, but then there's also like this prophecy that she's supposed to fulfill, and then she goes to like this magical kingdom where all of a sudden there's like baby dragons that sound super cute, but then there's also vampires, and it's just like, it's insane. There are so many things, like it's impossible to explain basically, but it was really, really good. There were lots of twists and turns. I will say that it didn't necessarily draw me in a super ton for like the first half of the book. The second half was better, and this did take me a while to finish because, like I was saying, I could go a couple of days without reading this because it didn't draw me in. Like, I wanted to know what happened next, but I wasn't like dying to know what happened next. Like, I feel like ACOTAR ruined me because reading like ACOMAF and ACOWAR, it's like any spare moment that I had, I was reading this book because I wanted to know what happened. You know what I mean? Like breaks at work, if my husband was out doing something and I was home alone, like any spare time that I had, I was in it, you know? I went a few days without picking this up from time to time because like it was good, but I'm not like dying for it. So it was decent though. So because of that, I gave it a 4.5 out of 5. Otherwise, I loved the vibes, I loved the story, I loved the one-liners, they were super good. And I'm really excited to get to the next one because I hear that the second one is even better, and then the third one also comes out this year. So I'll definitely be picking up those ones. And this is the Barnes & Noble edition, so I'm hoping to just buy like the 3-book hardcover set, but we shall see. The next book I the next book I did a vlog on with my friend Sandy. Love her so much, she's so cute. And that would be Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies by Heather Fawcett. And I really, really enjoyed this one. I didn't really give like a review in that vlog because Sandy and I just ended up talking about it together, and we gave all kinds of spoilers when we were talking about it. But basically, this follows our main character. I can't talk today. Oh my gosh. This follows our main character. Now I can't even remember. Emily Wilde. I'm fine. Emily Wilde works at Oxford, and this is based on like the early 1900s, by the way, because I didn't grasp that the first time. So like halfway through the book, I'm like, are we in like back then, you know? Emily Wilde works at Oxford, and she studies, I think it's called dryadology, which basically she studies fairies, because in this world fairies are real and they've been discovered and they study them and all that jazz. It's so cute. Sorry, the angle changed. My camera overheated and decided to just shut off the middle of my last sentence. So Emily works with Wendell Bambleby. They work together, like I said, doing dryadology, and it is Emily's life mission in her field to condense everything she's learned into a single encyclopedia. So in order to do this, she has to take a trip to this country, which by the way doesn't exist. I googled it, and you can't pronounce like half things in this book, but it's fine. But she goes to this country to look into and research this species of fae that live in like only this specific area. When she's there, she meets this cute little fae named Poe that I'm obsessed with, and I imagine Groot the entire time, and he's so cute. Wendell ends up showing up and surprising her, which she was majorly annoyed at, because she's a very standoffish, kind of a rude character, and Wendell's very like sanguine, intense energy, just like out there kind of a guy, and she like can't stand him. It's kind of cute though. They have tension, if you know what I mean. I'm not gonna say the spoiler, but there was something revealed that Emily like thought like right away in the beginning, and I'm kind of upset because I wish that would have been revealed more towards the end. If you know, you know. But anyway, so the book basically just follows Emily and Wendell in this country, and they're like communing with the townspeople, studying these fae, and it's really cute and fun and interesting. And then like the last 100 pages, it was like bang 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 bang, like action, like hardcore, where all of a sudden you get like, I don't know if I should say it, a lot of stuff happens basically. Now, I rated this book a 4.5 because of that, actually. So the whole book was great, and then like the last 150 pages where all of this stuff happened, I feel like that could have been its own book in itself because I wanted more detail. Like, I feel like that whole story was just crammed into a really small part in the last half of the book, and I wanted more detail about all of that. So I'm not gonna say what though, because I don't want to give any spoilers. But basically, this was a great book. Like I said, 4.5 out of 5, and I'm really excited for the next one. I will say I enjoyed it enough that I actually decided to buy the UK version of it as well. If you just look it up on Google, like Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia Fairies UK edition, the UK Amazon will pop up, and that's where I got it. And it's just really beautiful. Isn't that cover amazing? And I will say I love the cover on this one as well. The little blue tabbies are from Sandy because, like I said, we did a book swap where I ordered a book off of her wish list, she ordered one off of mine. We each read it and annotated it and then sent it to the other person without knowing what we were getting, and it was just such a fun experience. I loved it. 4.5 out of 5. Definitely recommend. So I lied to you guys. I have 6 books, not 5, because I just remembered I should probably talk about the other book during that book swap. I can speak English, I swear. The other book that I read is Shady Hollow by Juno Black, I believe it is. I don't have a physical copy because I did send it to Sandy, but I do plan on getting a physical copy because I think it was really cute. I ended up giving it a 4.5, no, I ended up giving a 4 out of 5 stars, I believe. It was a really cozy mystery, very like, I guess fantasy cozy mystery a little bit, because the main characters are animals, and there's not really a whole lot to say about it. Basically, there is the main character who is a fox, and her name is Vera Vixen. She's a reporter, and a crime happens in the town. Somebody gets murdered, which is odd because it's a cute, cozy little town that nothing usually happens. And so, because the police don't really know how to handle it because it's never happened before, Vera takes it into her own hands to figure out what happened. And there's all kinds of different suspects, lots of twists and turns, and it's just really fun. And I really enjoyed it. The only reason why I gave it a 4 out of 5 was because I really didn't like the writing, which is so funny because I had posted on Instagram that like the writing was so robotic and choppy, and like they did this and then they did this and then they did this, and one of my friends commented on it. She was like, that's so funny because I actually love this book because I thought the writing was so poetic. So it just goes to show everybody reads things very differently. So you might really like it, you might think it's poetic. I personally just didn't enjoy the writing, but the story was really great and I very much loved it. So I do plan on getting the other ones in the series. I think there are 2 more in the series with the 4th coming out, or 1 more in the series with the 3rd coming out. I'm not quite sure, but yes, I did love it and I do recommend. The next book that I'm talking about is going to be very controversial. So if you are easily offended, you might not want to listen to the last half of my review. And that would be about The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. And I know this book is so incredibly popular, and I understand why, but I also don't. So this is a romance book. Now, I'll start off by saying actually that I gave this a 3 out of 5. I'll explain why. So I did enjoy the romance. This follows Olive, and she is, I think, a PhD student. It's been a while since I've read it. And she is in school with her best friend, who very much so reminds me of Lorelai Gilmore, very like out there, says a lot of things, really funny. I really liked her character. Gives horrible life advice, but she was fun. And her friend Malcolm, who also gives really horrible life advice, but he was also very fun and I liked his character. So it starts off with Olive kissing Dr. Adam Carlson, who is one of the professors there. Now she tells her friend like, oh, I have a date tonight, and she like is actually going to go study because her friends are encouraging her to date, right? And then her friend ends up actually showing up at the lab, and so she decides to just kiss the first guy that was walking by, which happens to be Dr. Adam Carlson, and they basically pull off like this fake dating scenario, and you can guess what happens by the end, right? Now, the romance was super cute. I love Adam Carlson. I love him. I love him so much. If Rysand, yes, I say Rysand, not Rhysand, because that's stupid. If Rysand wasn't my first like fictional man that I like fell for, Dr. Adam Carlson would definitely be that guy, because he's like, he's just so masculine and really smart and like kind of rude. I don't know if that's like a good thing, but he's clean and serious, but also has a sense of humor, and he's just perfect, and I love him. I loved him. Ugh. And I definitely imagine Adam Driver the whole time. I don't know why I find Adam Driver so incredibly attractive, but I do, so. Anyway, now let me tell you about my problems. Like I said, if you're very strongly opinionated and don't like the fact that people have different opinions than you, then go to the next one, because I have strong opinions about this one. I read books to get away from the real world, right? I don't want to hear about social issues. I don't want to hear about political issues. I don't want to hear it. I read books to escape the real world, to have a great time. This book was so freaking packed with social issues. It was annoying me. I almost put this book down because I was so incredibly annoyed. I don't like this term, but it's kind of the common way to know what I'm talking about. It is very quote-unquote woke. Okay, and if it wasn't for this, I would have loved this book so much. There was a little bit of a spicy scene, but it wasn't like disgusting, which I appreciated, so that was okay. Didn't love it, didn't like despise it, but whatever. So let me just start off by saying the amount of times that Ali Hazelwood writes about cisgendered, privileged, straight white males. First of all, I hate that term, cisgendered. Just say it's a man. Okay, straight white male. Okay, why is straight a crime suddenly? Why are you saying it like that's such a horrible thing? Especially Ali Hazelwood for being married to one. Not to mention all of your main characters in your books are also straight white males that I'm assuming are quote-unquote cisgendered. Like, why are you making this such an issue? The other thing is, she would say things like, oh, we're in a room of privileged, cisgendered, straight white men. And I'm like, aren't you sitting in the same room in the same doctorate program? Why are you complaining about them being privileged? Does that mean you're privileged because you're getting the same education? Like, the whole concept of privilege really, really infuriates me, because every single person on this planet has privilege in one way or another. It makes me so mad, especially when you assign it to race, because I'm still waiting for my white privilege to kick in, let me tell you what. And I'm sure my husband probably was growing up too, when, you know, he grew up in a house that didn't even have running water, but you know, privilege. That whole freaking concept just makes me mad. And like I said, every person has privilege in one way or another. All those constant pokes at that was so obnoxious to me and infuriating, and it adds fuel to the fire. This society is already so up in arms about race and gender and privilege and all that. Why are you adding fuel to the fire in this book? You're only making things more frustrating and stereotypical and annoying for people like me. And it gets me heated. It really does. And I'm the kind of person that when talking about this stuff, not only do I get heated, but I also point to facts, I point to statistics, and it's just, I could talk about the subject for hours, but I won't because this is supposed to be a recent reads video and not my personal opinions, which is why I said to skip if you're easily offended, because I don't want to stay quiet on this because this kind of stuff matters, okay? And this is going to make me not read any more of Ali Hazelwood's books because I did hear from other people that pretty much all of her books mention stuff like this, and it's just not for me. And the other thing also that she did that was really cringy was Flucella. Excuse me. That was so incredibly cringe. Yeah, you heard that right, Flucella. Where all the students and teachers get together to go get their flu shots, and they make a big celebration out of it. And Adam Carlson did not want to get his flu shot, and Olive gave him such a hard time about it. And I just think that's really inappropriate. When it comes to medical stuff, I'm a very strong believer in your body, you do what you want with it. If you don't want to get a flu shot, if you don't want to get any kind of vaccine, I don't want to say it because I don't want to like get flagged because false information. Like, every single person should have the freedom to decide what is best for them and their families, and to crap on people who don't make the same decisions as you is really disgusting. And she did that in this book. She pointed it at Adam, was like, oh, are you an anti-vaxxer? Like, that's so not okay to say. That is so not okay to say, especially because there are people reading this book who have lost babies to that, who have injured children because of those. That's really upsetting to me to hear that, especially as somebody who, I had to get the flu vaccine when I was in the military. Stupid. I got the flu every time I got it, and I'm not saying like, you know, immediately after you might experience symptoms, but I mean like within the season I would always get the freaking flu every time, and it was horrific. So yeah, that was just a major turnoff for me. So, and then the whole concept of like, meet me in the all-gendered bathroom. Like, just say bathroom! Like, why are you poking in these little things? Anyway, I've been talking about this for way too long, I'm sorry. I only planned on talking about that part for like 2 minutes, and then I got carried away because it makes me mad. All that to say, Love Hypothesis, 3 out of 5. Would have been a 4.5 out of 5 had it not been for all those social pokes. So yeah, not reading any more of her books. Okay, so I apologize for the quality change. He's so cute. My camera overheated again, and I usually let it cool down for like 10 minutes and then use it again, but now it's not even turning on. So I'm like this close to just filming on my phone only because this overheating situation with this camera is so driving me mad. Okay, last book. I do not have a physical copy of it because it has not yet been published, and it is called Who is Xavier Slate by my friend Kendall. I will put her Instagram handle right here, as well as her bookish one that she has for her book. She also has a TikTok that I recommend following her on. She posts a lot of really great like snippets from her book, and I love it. It is actually also kind of complicated to explain, but basically what she says in like her little captions is like a prince discovers a girl in the forest bleeding to find out that she contains a magic that was supposed to be almost like, I guess the word would be extinct, kind of in a way. But the book follows our main character, Anastasia, and she is a princess. She has a sister, and her dad is the king. He's a major jerk, can't stand him. And there is a neighboring kingdom that basically, to maintain their way of lives, the kingdoms have to merge. So Anastasia is supposed to marry Xavier, who is the prince of this other kingdom, and they hate each other. Like, when I say enemies to lovers, I mean enemies to lovers. Almost killed each other, enemies to lovers. Like, so many people are like, oh, it's an enemies to lovers book, and I'm like, they said like 2 rude things to each other. That doesn't count. Like I said, she has a magic that was supposed to be non-existent anymore, and so there's like this whole journey to find where her magic like originates from, to fill herself up basically to save somebody. There's kind of a lot of political intrigue as well between the two kingdoms. Lots of character development, which is my favorite. The magic system is very unique and different. The world is really fun and unique as well. There are also other like magical creatures that are introduced. Xavier does have like wings that he can summon, so if that reminds you of anything. But Xavier is like another one of my favorite book boyfriends. He's similar to Adam Carlson in the sense of like he's very aggressive and straightforward and kind of rude, but then like also has a good heart, like fights for what's right and defends, and it's just amazing. And there's also in this book, there's definitely a who did this to you moment. I love it. I'm really hoping that she gets published soon. And Kendall, if you're watching this, don't give up. You're gonna get there. You're gonna get there. I'm just so excited for this book to come out because it is really great. You just gotta remember that it took J.K. Rowling 7 years, I think, to publish Harry Potter. She got turned down so many times and she never gave up, and now that book is like the most famous book of all time, you know what I mean? So let's just all take a moment to like pray that this book gets published because Kendall deserves it, and I think you guys deserve to read the story. It's very fun and intriguing, adventurous, and there's a little bit of everything. There's like sisterhood, brotherhood, political intrigue, lots of action, unique magic system, enemies to lovers, all kinds of good stuff. So it is really fun, and I do hope that you guys get to read it soon. Anyway, so yeah, that would be my wrap up for this video. I really appreciate you guys being here and listening to me ramble. And again, in my hardcore negative ramble about this book, please know that if you disagree with me on stuff, that's okay. I hope you feel the same way, that if I disagree with you on stuff, that that's okay too, because we're all human. We have different experiences, we have different opinions and beliefs, and that should be okay. This should be a space for all of us, as long as we're not being like a-holes and treating people wrong. Like, as long as you treat people well, believe what you want to believe. But yeah, I really appreciate you so much. I love you dearly. Thank you for being here. If you've made it to the end of this video, please leave a little butterfly emoji in the comments. I feel like it's been a while since I've done something like that, and I always love seeing who actually watches my videos all the way through, which isn't a lot of people, but it still makes me feel good when it does happen. I do want to come out with more videos. Honestly, the reason why I don't do as many is because this camera makes me angry, so I feel like I might just start doing stuff on my phone. I hope that's not too bothersome. I know it probably looks weird now because I jumped from a camera quality to my phone quality, but sorry. Thank you so much for being here. If you have any book recs, let me know. I love you so much, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!